I'm about to do a breakdown on the results of the last election. The Jamaican people have spoken louder than they've ever spoken. 37% of the people turned out to vote. That means the majority of the Jamaican population have no faith in JLP or PNP. And for the first time, they have spoken. We've always criticized the Jamaican people, saying that they're stupid and that we're not going to pay any attention to them when they're suffering. But they spoke, and we must recognize what they said. Now, the PNP party has a big lesson to learn. And people, for example, like Lisa Anna, who appears to be doing work, when you watch Instagram, got a very clear statement from the Jamaican people that we're not satisfied with what you're offering. And I think Lisa Anna is one of the strongest person in the PNP party, one that I think they need to stand behind to repair the damages done by this party upon the Jamaican people. PNP, you need to understand this, that the people did not just vote for the JLP party. They voted against you. They voted against you. And the JLP need to understand that when you got one person in a room, that person becomes majority. And so the kind of support the JLP party got and kind of winnings that they got does not indicate that the people have faith in you. It just indicates that people said, I'm not interested in what you got to offer. Those of you who are can go out there and knock yourselves out. And so there's a celebration. There should be no celebration, because what happened is the JLP turned up to work and found out that there was a boycott. Those who were there were already there. It doesn't mean that they won. The Jamaican people won in this case. Now let me talk to the PNP party so you understand a few things. You can't present any kind of opposition to the JLP, and you cannot present any kind of competition to the JLP party, because they did do some things right. The Prime Minister has conducted himself in an exemplary way in terms of how he managed this COVID situation. But more than anything else, he has made attempts to connect with the people every single time he called a press conference, which is not a likely or usual thing that happens in Jamaica. So you got to give people credit where credit is due. Also, Andrew Holiness is brilliant. He's no fool. He knows how to pull the crowd. He knows how to get people to him. Andrew Holiness is a true leader in his nature, in his personality. I never said he was a great leader, but he can come out as a leader. Every person who is in his government understand that he's a leader. They offer him supportive role, but he doesn't wait for them to lead him. He leads them. He understands the current climate. He understands that change is necessary. And so when you see 18 women, in his government vying for a seat in his parliament, you got to give the man credit, and you got to give him the credit in a sense to say he's forward thinking and that he does understand the value of women. See, the old boys school club is over, and this man understands that. So he's a leader in that way. Because he's this aggressive person, and people often call him arrogant, and I call him arrogant sometimes because sometimes he come across as such. But it's that arrogance that people love. The Jamaican people don't really like individuals who treat them as if they are a big part of the decision. But he has managed to introduce that to them, and that's a good thing. Andrew Holiness has spent the year prior to planning for this new election doing some work that only the Spirit can really reveal to some people. His win was not a coincidence. His win was carefully designed, planned, and executed. And so PNP, you got folks who you thought were going to be loyal to you forever, who Andrew Holiness was able to send his individuals who represented him to change their minds. Strongholds that gets broken, does not get broken by accident. It gets broken by careful work, careful design to make sure those persons turn. Those individuals within the PNP constituents that gave you that false sense that they're going to be loyal to you forever got turned. And they got turned with the work put in by Andrew Holiness and his team. So he recognized the importance of incorporating women in his movement. He understands the importance of looking or attempting to stay connected to the people. He understands the importance of being a leader who don't wait for them to drag him. He takes them with him. I get the feeling that Andrew Holiness is the type of person that if you're not going to do what he says, it's the highway. And a leader really does have to have that kind of control over themselves and those who they lead. So we got to give him credit for that. Therefore, when we look at the PNP party, who in the PNP party was in any position to overthrow this person, even if the majority of the people turned out to vote? Let's be honest here. And this is spoken by somebody who is neither JLP or PNP, who has no problem holding individuals accountable. So I'm talking about what the JLP did right, and I'm going to tell you what the PNP did wrong. First and foremost, Peter Phillips, you could never become Prime Minister because of what you did to Portia Simpson. Even if you didn't like what she was doing, you were supposed to stay behind closed doors and advise her and tell her about the things that you like or you don't like. You never go against your leader publicly. You don't. That just makes it seem that you're power hungry. You don't care about your own party. Otherwise, you would have to show solidarity in your midst. Solidarity. A strand of three, a cord of three strands is not easily broken. So the moment the people start to see you fighting within your own community, within your own group, they lose faith in you. They can't trust you. And so there's always been this thing where people always want power. You're always jostling for position in your own party, not knowing that everything takes time and hard work. Instead of saying, I have a constituents and I'm going to go in my constituents and make a difference and work for the people so the people can decide who become their next leader. No, you're busy fighting. Meantime, you're not doing anything in the areas where you're ruling or leading or nominated to vote. It's disgraceful. So Peter Phillips, when you lost this election, you lost it the day you double-crossed Portia Simpson. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm not saying Portia Simpson was a great prime minister, but I'm going to say that if she wasn't, it's because she didn't have good advice. People deliberately, in her party, deliberately gave her bad advice so she would look bad, so they would take the power from her. And I respect Portia Simpson because in order to be a woman in Jamaican politics, from way back then, you'd have to be this hard worker. You'd have to be this one who lay down in the trenches with them. She laid down in those trenches and helped to build the PNP party. She was there to support them and to represent them. And the way she left it was not right. I'm sorry. It was not right. She was forced out. And so, Andrew, whatever your name is, Peter Phillips, you could never win. And so that's why you have left the way you have. And I still have to say thank you for your years of service to Jamaica. Whatever capacity you've served in, you have done what you conceive to be your best. And so, speedy journey to you. Lisa Anna, some time ago, I saw some people disrespecting you, cussing at you, saying that they don't know you and that you don't do nothing. They didn't even want you talking to their kids. And I would think that you would try to turn that around. Something about that I cannot dismiss. I cannot say that the people were lying because they made that statement about you in the last election and you allowed that to happen again. I thought you were serious about politics, Lisa, because Jamaica needs you. We need more women like you. That's why the JLP party is looking so fine, because the women, the energy that the women are bringing to the forefront is beautiful. And so PNP party has to reshuffle. You guys have to wheel and come again because nobody wants what you're selling. Nobody wants what you're selling, PNP. The old boys had to go. They had to go. People got tired of that. People have no water in their constituents. People have no roads. What about the country area? Let's talk about Clarendon, for example. Where the majority of the people in Clarendon are PNP. They have no roads. What about the young people in Clarendon? Where are the jobs? Where are the skills that are encouraged in these young people who just walk around and have nothing to do? You abandon the country part, both JLP and PNP. Abandon the people in the countryside. Transportation, you only put emphasis in Montego Bay and maybe Portmore and Kingston and all the tourist areas. What about the people in the country? No roads, no transportation. Nobody remember country people. Why? But you want them to turn out at election time to support you. Why should they? So, the mandate is given to the JLP party. And they're feeling comfortable in it, not understanding that you only won because the guys didn't turn out. You only won because, there was a few of you in the room. And so you became the majority. I want to say to you, Mr. Andrew Holiness, because it's very easy to disrespect someone when you're disagreeing with some of the things that they're doing. I'm here to say to you, Mr. Andrew Holiness, that you have this mandate, and you know within yourself, when you look in the mirror, only you and the ones who you're in closed rooms encounter with, only you guys know what this is about. The pandemic is ushering a new era, a new period in our history. And it's one that even if you started out going down a path that was against your own people, this is your opportunity to change your mind. You say you're here to create wealth. And I don't doubt that, but for who? Because if you're creating the wealth in Jamaica, and I believe you're the type of person who wants to see a very wealthy Jamaica. I think you want it to be like that island that is compared to Dubai, with the kind of infrastructure and the kind of wealth creation that you're building. But we are tired as black people to be eating from the crumbs that falls off the rich man's table. The Jamaican people, African people, it's time for them to start enjoying the islands, start to enjoy the wealth, not just wealth created by people who come from other places, but the people themselves, the children, the sons and daughters of the soil deserve to enjoy this wealth. The country is bountiful when it comes to nature and beautiful aesthetically. So without any infrastructure, it's already a beautiful place. But what is needed is the opportunity for the people to excel. You know, some of the greatest people, some of the greatest artists, actors, entrepreneurs, you name it, are from Jamaica. There's so many raw talent waiting to emerge, just bursting forth like new seed every single day. And they're just waiting for someone to believe in them. So I'm pleading with the Prime Minister of Jamaica to say, whatever you're planning to do that is not in the benefit of the Jamaican people, I ask you to take a careful look and think to yourself how you can change history. Your choices and your decision can pivot you right now to be one of Jamaica's greatest Prime Minister. But there's a possibility for you to go down in history as one of the most evil if you make the wrong choices. PNP, you got decimated, not because the JLP won, but because the people won, and because they spoke, and they spoke against you. And so now we, as people in the diaspora, need to understand that we now become the opposition. 14 people cannot speak for the millions of people in Jamaica. And 14 people definitely will not, because they have not had the training, PNP has never showed themselves to be a great opposition. Because things that go through, they tend to just make noise in the beginning, and before you know it, nothing changes. NIDS is still on the table. You better believe it. And now it's going to happen in spite of your weak opposition, PNP. Now the JLP party has the power to change a lot of things. And so we are here, we're watching, we're keeping our eyes on the pulse, our fingers on the pulse, and we're going to talk up the things, because guess what? We're Jamaicans. We'll always be Jamaicans. We're forever in love with our country and loyal to our people. So the JLP people, if you think that, yeah, I can push through my mandate and I can allow our former enemies to come in and wreak havoc upon our people and our land, you better think again. PNP, you are way too arrogant in thinking that you could just go out there and do 20% and expect to reap 100% benefit. You are very arrogant. We needed to get rid of the old boys club. It didn't work anymore. First and foremost, you need young minds, you need innovative minds, you need individuals who can come out here and see where, the world is changing, and how to not necessarily adapt, but how to make sure that you can compete in this changing world. It's a global economy. When you were able to go behind closed doors and do as you like, you cannot do that now, because we're talking about nanosecond news, and people calling themselves news reporter don't need a license to do that because they're social media. The world is changing just by the fact that the world got locked down because of a virus. And we all know that there's so much more to that story. We all know that there's a means to end with that story. And can we trust you, Andrew Holiness? Big question mark. Can we trust you? But it's not late to change your mind. It's not. You can be one of the greatest leaders in Jamaica, or you can be one of the worst. It's your choice. PNP party, it was time for you to go. It really was time for you to go. You were like cancerous in the way you did things and the way you treated the people. Just the mere fact that you think you can do nothing and still lead, coming out with old policies and old ideas that didn't match 2020 kind of expectations. I'm going to end by saying this. In spite of what I'm saying, if it's done or not done, what is going to happen and what will not happen, the door just got flew open, Jamaican people, kicked off. And now you will see soldiers, and not necessarily literal soldiers, but you will see folks coming through that door, that broken door. And unless we have good guards or good keepers, may God have mercy upon our soul. Stay blessed.